welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. So, as you see, I have this Camp Half-Blood hoodie. Also, we're going to be reading a Dark Demigods, chapters 4 through 7, and discuss casting announcements for the PJO TV show. So, let's start with the casting. So, Annabeth and Grover have just been announced, and it's on the Rick Riordan site, and this is what it said. This week's our three brave heroes assembled for the first time at studios in Vancouver, and I got to welcome them to the set. We have had a lot of hard work ahead of us, but also a lot of fun. I cannot wait to get started. Please help me welcome Walker, Arion, and Leo to the Percy Jackson universe. I promise that they will do you proud. That's all it says. And this, there's more above, but this is what the cast looks like together. This is the cast, and so my thoughts. In a way, I'm not surprised that Rick Riordan made them blood, and there's no problem with that. He's trying to show diversity, because I know that is exactly what he's trying to do, and Rick really wants to make us proud with people with different skin tones, and that is really, really great. He wanted the PJO TV show to be good and show diversity and really just show us what is going on, and with that, he also made Grover black, and there's no problem with this, and a lot of fans are either gonna hate on it or they're gonna love it. Me, I'm glad that they are, but it's a little sad that they won't be what I imagined, but that's what makes it right. So, from what I've seen, Percy is 13, Grover is 15, and Annabeth is 12, or going to be 13. So this is perfect, and Grover is supposed to look older anyways. And honestly, it makes sense that Grover is, black, because I could imagine him either way. It really doesn't matter to me as long as the story is right. So, with that, let's get on with our chapters. Alright, so if you guys are wondering, what happened last was Percy had just walked in and asked Nico if he would want to be on his Capture the Flag team, and Nico regretted it because he kind of wanted to be on Jason's, but he didn't think about it because he wanted to sorry, I'm trying to talk and it's really hard, but he was with Will and they kind of were just having a moment and it got interrupted. So let's see what happens next. Chapter 4, The Infirmary. Nico's point of view. So, where were we? Will asked me. Well, before we zoom, I need to ask you something. Yeah, what's up? Why didn't you tell me? About what? Your mom? Oh, I didn't think it was important enough to. Important, Will? This is more than important. Yeah, I suppose, he admitted. At that, we stayed in an awkward silence when I suddenly asked, how bad was it? Oh, not really bad, he said, and once again, he didn't meet my eyes, and I could tell if I pushed him hard enough, they would start pouring with tears and remind me of a rainy day coming, blocking all sunlight. I needed to know what happened, but at the same time, I didn't want to pressure him. We stayed in another long silence, but this time Will broke it. He looked at me and said in a soft, raspy, broken voice, Nico, I have to go, but I will see you later, he said. and walked out of the door, shaking and looking at the floor. Once Will left, my heart started pounding extremely hard and my breath rattled. I started growing with worry. I had pushed Will to his limits. He wouldn't tell me his problems anymore. I did the only thing I could do in a situation like this. I got angry. But I wasn't mad at Will. I was mad at myself. How could I push Will like that? I always get mad when people beg for answers, so why did I beg Will for an explanation? I ran to my chest drawers. I opened the drawer. Inside I grabbed something. A knife. I took it and sliced it into my skin, leaving a pile of blood on the floor. Unless, a voice told me. Useless, a voice told me. I stabbed myself again. Pathetic. Stab. Hopeless. Stab. Unworthy. Stab. After the fifth stab, I hit a vein and fell to the floor. As I did, my face fell in the puddle of blood. A few seconds later, I heard footsteps, and a voice said from the other side of the door, "Nico, are you okay?" He paused, waiting for me to say something. I tried, but all that came out was a groan of pain, as blood still came out of my system. After a minute of me not saying anything, Will said, "Okay, Nico, I am coming in whether you like it or not." He opened the door and saw me on the floor. "Nico, are you okay?" he asked me. I tried to speak, but all I did was make another groan. Will's eyes widened as he saw the knife. He picked it up and he looked broken. His eyes started tearing up but didn't cry. "All right, Nico, let's get you up and take you to the infirmary. Nobody else can know. No, nobody else can know." "Fine," he sighed. "Then explain." I sighed. Ever since Bianca died, things have been hard. Every time I get frustrated, I can't handle it, so I cut myself, I said, looking at the ground. Will hugged me. "It's okay, Nico. I can help you." I smiled. "You promise you won't tell anyone?" "Yeah," he said earnestly. "Now let me heal you." I handed him my arm. He took it. When he did for the first time, he was scared as he healed a patient. "Well, what's wrong?" I asked him. "Nothing," he said. "Are you sure?" I asked him. "Yeah," he said, and kept healing my arm in silence, except for the fact that he sang songs of Apollo. It took him a while, and when he finished, he looked a lot weaker than he normally did when he healed people. "Will, are you okay? You look exhausted." "Yeah," he said weakly, and collapsed on my bed, and he passed out. I walked over to him and started holding his hand. When I noticed, it was very cold, and I sensed he was dying soon. I panicked. I grabbed him the best I could, seeing as he was almost double my size. I took him to the infirmary. When I opened the doors, Will's sister saw me and gasped. She grabbed Will and put him on a cot. "What happened?" she asked worriedly. Will was healing me and looked weaker than usual and passed out, and he's cold, and I sense my voice broke. I couldn't say that I sensed Will was dying out loud. It was too much. Fortunately, Kayla understood and started putting monitors on him and was feeding him ambrosia and nectar. After about 10 minutes, she stopped and turned to me. "Okay, he's going to stay here, but I suggest you go back to your cabin." "No," I said simply. She sighed, knowing she couldn't convince me otherwise, and then she went to the back. I walked to Will and held his hand. His hand was still cold, and his pulse was shallow, but higher than it was before. My arm started to sting, and tears fell off my face, but I didn't wipe them off. It was my fault he was like this. My tears fell harder and landed on Will's face. I wiped them off and stared at his unusually pale face. I hoped Will would be okay. I stood there for a few minutes. When the infirmary doors opened, I jumped and turned around. It was Percy. His eyes were red from crying, and he was holding his right arm firmly. I walked over to him. "Percy, are you okay?" Yeah, I'm fine. Have you seen Will?" I looked at the floor, trying not to cry, but I failed. Tears came running down my face. "Nico, what's wrong?" Will got really hurt, I said. My voice cracked, which annoyed me. Percy gave me a one-armed hug, but I bumped into his bad arm, and he winced. "Percy, what happened to your arm?" I managed to ask him without my voice stuttering. I fell," he said vaguely. "Off what?" I asked him. "My cabin roof." "What were you doing up there?" "Chillin'," Percy said quickly. "Yeah, because I lay and hang out on my roof for a living," I said sarcastically. Percy looked at me, then around the room before he said, "Promise you won't tell anyone, including Will?" Hearing Will's name made me sad, but I ignored it for now. I looked at him. I won't tell anyone, I told him. He looked at me for a second before he said, I was smoking. I looked at him surprised. I never expected Percy to be someone to smoke. Then again, I didn't expect Will to be beaten by his mom. You smoke? I finally asked him. Does Annabeth know? What? No, are you crazy? She would kill me, he pointed out. Yeah, that's true. He looked at me and nodded. He looked at the window that showed his cabin and stared in the direction angrily. Why? I asked him. Well, he said, thinking of the right words, I just feel better when I do. What made you upset to smoke just now? Nightmares, he muttered. Is that so? Said a weak voice behind us. I turned around. Will had woken up. How much had he heard? Will! I screamed. I ran over to Will and hugged him. He smiled, then looked at Percy with a frown he only used when he was upset, worried, or angry. I hoped he wasn't angry. Percy shuffled his feet nervously, and his red eyes looked worried. Will would shout at him. No, I wasn't. Will never shouted at nobody. Being understanding all, which was what I loved about him so much, even if he could be too understanding sometimes. Sit, Will told Percy, indicating a chair next to him. Percy obliged, but his body was trembling so much I wouldn't be surprised if he had a panic attack. When Percy sat down, Will looked at Percy and said calmly, Are you okay? Percy relaxed a little. He looked at Will. No. What's wrong? Will asked softly. Nothing. Percy, just tell me what's wrong. I can't. Why not? Percy squirmed in his chair and winced. Will looked at his arm. Let me see it, Will said. Percy sat closer to Will so he could have a quick look at his arm, and at that precise moment, Kayla came out. Well, she said, good to see you're awake. Percy, what happened to your arm? I think it's broken. Oh, okay, I can. Kayla, I got it, Will interrupted. Well, no, I spoke. You need a rest. Ugh, whatever, he said, disappointed. When Kayla and Percy left, Will turned to me with an angry expression. What? I asked him. Were you actually going to keep that from me? He said. Well, yeah, I don't want to break Percy's trust. Look, I get that, but finding out that Percy smokes is a— What? I turned around and me and Will froze. Annabeth Chase stood before us, her jaw hanging open. This look surprised me. Normally, Annabeth always had a look that showed me she wasn't surprised since she already knew it was coming, but now she looked completely stunned. But Annabeth finding out was not the worst thing to happen. It seemed that Kayla and Percy were coming to see what all the noise was. When Percy saw Annabeth, he froze. Percy, Annabeth hollered, let's talk now. Percy slowly walked towards her, very nervous. Now? He asked in a tiny voice. Outside, she hollered.
The object of this game
Ad.
is to guess the 5-letter word in 6 tries.
Of course there's an ad. Wordle.
The gray letters here indicate incorrect
But anyway,
letters.
so that's chapter 4. Now we're going to chapter 5. Hold up. I apologize. Chapter 5. Running away from the pain. I've been scared of many things, but nothing scared me more than when my girlfriend, Annabeth Chase, was angry. Oh, right, Percy's point of view. Sorry, I didn't mean to forget that. Okay. Let me start over. I've been scared of many things, but nothing scared me more than when my girlfriend, Annabeth Chase, was angry. After she told me to come outside, I started shaking. I knew she was going to yell at me. When she finally stopped walking, I tried to act calm and relaxed. Percy, what's going on? She asked sternly with a tone of sadness in her voice. Nothing, I lied. Come on, Percy, tell me, she said urgently. It was hard for me to resist, but I did. I can't, I said. Why not? She asked, her voice starting to rise. Because it's none of your business, I said, and I instantly regretted saying it after I said it. Oh, yes, it is, she said coldly. So tell me now. I couldn't, so before she called me back, I ran to my cabin and locked the door. Somebody knocked. I looked to see who it was through the window before opening it. It was Annabeth. Percy, open up, Annabeth ordered. Please, I'm sorry for not being easy to talk to. Now, please open up. No, my No, I said, annoyed. Please leave me alone. Percy, please, a different voice came. Jason's. But I ignored it. I will tell Sally, Annabeth said. I sighed and opened the door. Annabeth and Jason walked in and shut the door behind me. And I shut the door behind me. I sat on my bed, and they sat on a bed across that was facing mine. So, Annabeth said after a few minutes, what is going on? Nothing, I said again. Annabeth looked at me with a disappointed look on her face. Fine, Percy. I gave you your chance. I am telling your mom. I tried to run after her, but Jason got in the way. I kicked him in the shin, but not hard enough to make him fall to the ground or even flinch. Great, now my mom is going to know I smoke, I thought, annoyed. Chapter 6. Mother and Son Issues. Sally's point of view. I was lying on the couch with my husband Paul, whom I was cuddling with. That was until the phone call. I got up and walked to the telephone. It was Annabeth. I answered it. Hello, Annabeth's voice said through the phone. Hi, Annabeth, I said softly. Hi, Sally. There's something I think you should know. Yes, I asked calm despite how anxious I was. Whenever I got a call like this, it was almost always something bad. Well, Percy didn't want me to tell you, but I think you should know. What is it? What I heard next made my heart shatter. Percy has been smoking. I stood frozen as she said it. Even when my heart was I stood frozen as she said it. My heart was about to crush. Is he doing anything else? I don't know, she said. He won't tell us anything. Well, tell him he is coming home, and I don't care what excuse he has. Tell him he is to come home, I said anxiously. Okay, Annabeth's voice said, and she hung up. I set the phone back on the receiver. I started sobbing, wondering why Percy was doing this, and why he wouldn't even tell Annabeth. What's wrong? Paul asked as he walked up to me. It's Percy, I said in a small voice that couldn't be mine. He's been smoking. Paul looked surprised by that response and hugged me tightly, clearly worried about Percy. Sorry, my nose is really itchy, and I have no idea why. About an hour later, Annabeth walked in along with the blonde boy I didn't know and Percy. Percy's eyes were bloodshot, his skin was pale, and his right arm was broken. Percy, I said, hugging him. He flinched. That broke my heart. Percy never flinched or felt nervous around me, except perhaps the time he asked if I could give him permission to bathe in the river Styx, but that was different. I looked at him and noticed that he was completely out of it. What happened? I asked, worried. Well, after I called you, me and Jason went to tell Chiron that he was going to come home because he wasn't himself, which wasn't exactly lying, but by the time we found him, he was like this. What did he use? I asked. Alcohol and marijuana, Annabeth said sadly. How long did you leave him? I insisted. Like half an hour, because after we talked to Chiron, we went to Will, who runs the infirmary, to explain everything, and by the time we got back, this happened, she said, pointing at Percy. Okay, said, well, how about we take Percy to his room and we get you guys somewhere to sleep? All right, Jason and I said in unison, even though we never agreed to stay the night. But we looked at each other and said non-verbally it was a good idea, even if we got in huge trouble with Chiron. Okay, I'll go help Percy, Jason said. Jason's point of view. I didn't understand what was going on with Percy. I didn't get what made him this stressed out. And if he didn't tell Annabeth, well, then it must be pretty serious. Like he had been through a lot going through Tartarus and everything, but I could tell he was getting over it. Besides, if it was Tartarus that was bothering him, he would tell Annabeth, like he always does. No, I knew it was something else. I could tell it was something completely different. Like he didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to think of him as weak. That kind of made me angry. But then I thought of how I would probably do the same thing. Still, it made me mad. He couldn't confide in me for that reason. I mean, it didn't make any sense. We fought monsters together and stopped Mother Earth from destroying Camp Half-Blood, but he couldn't tell me what made him so worried. We walked into his room and I jumped, and Percy didn't move since he was so high. Standing in the corner of the room was Nico. He stared at us with a smirk. I rolled my eyes. Nico, what are you doing here? Will won't be happy if he hears you've been shadow traveling. He won't find out, he said, shrugging and walking over towards me in person. Nico, do you think he will be fine? Yeah. What makes you so sure? I asked him, surprised how confident he sounded. It's Percy, he said simply, and I made a small chuckle. What about me? Percy asked suddenly. Just you, I said. Yeah, just me, Percy said, and then he passed out. I went and attempted to pick him up when I suddenly realized he was getting colder, a lot colder. That's when I realized Percy was slowly dying, and I ran out the door with Nico right behind me. Alright, let's go to Chapter 7. Chapter 7, Alive or Dead. Annabeth's point of view. Me and Sally were having a conversation about how we could help Percy when a very pale Jason and Nico came in looking distressed. What happened? I asked, getting at the hint that something was very wrong with Percy. He's dying, Jason said sadly. What? I screamed and ran past them, and in the corner of my eye, I saw Sally fall to the floor, crying her heart out. When I walked into Percy's room, my heart dropped. Why was he all of a sudden just dying? Sure, drugs can kill you, but doesn't it take a while for them to kill you? Maybe it's because he is young, or maybe his fate, after all, the fates really seem to hate Percy. After staring at Percy for an entire minute, I finally sat down next to him and started feeling for his pulse. Shallow but still there. My heart started to beat faster than usual, and it seemed like the temperature was rising rather quickly. Jason walked in and sat down next to me. Nico called Will, and Will said he would be here to take him to the infirmary. Um, hold up. Jason said sadly. Okay, I said with a cracked voice. Jason, noticing this, came in and gave me a hug and walked out of Percy's room to give us some alone time, which I appreciated. It took Will no less than 15 minutes to get to Percy's apartment after Jason left Percy's room. When he got here, we walked him into Percy's room so he could examine him. The entire time, Will was silent, trying to concentrate. The rest of us were quiet, and Nico sat on Percy's bed next to Will was looking at Percy. The entire time that Will was examining Percy, Nico looked at Will with an unreadable expression on his face. When Will finally spoke, he had a frown on his face. I can't figure out what is making his heart drop. Nico put Will on Will's shoulder to comfort him, but I frowned at him. How do you not know? What do you mean? Shouldn't it be pretty easy to figure out? I wondered. What could be so bad that Will didn't know? But I guess as I said it, he thought I meant it in a rude way, and so did Nico, who was glaring at me. Annabeth, what'd you just say? Oh, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, I wondered how serious it is if Will doesn't even know. Yeah, let's only be there for when we need him, but when he needs us, we don't need to help him. Nico, calm down, Wilma was trying to say, but was interrupted by Nico. No, they only use you when they need your help, so let them figure it out. No, Nico, I need to help Percy. Come on, Will. No, come on! At that point, Will fell to the ground, crying. His eyes were puffy and tears welled down his face. Will, are you okay? Jason asked. Like you guys care, this is all your fault. Guys, stop arguing, Sally said, saying something for the first time. Nico's face turned softer, and Jason shut his mouth because right before Sally scolded them, Jason was trying to say something. Then Nico turned to Will. You okay, Sunshine? Yeah, I'm fine. You sure? Nico asked, concerned. Yeah, I need to go. No, Will, you need to calm down. The last time you healed someone, you almost died. Whatever, we could lose someone if I don't go and heal Percy, so if you don't mind. Yeah, Will, I do mind. Look, Nico, I need to heal him. No, you need a rest. No, I am the doctor, and I know I will be all right. Well, I think you need a rest. No, Nico, I don't, Will shouted angrily, which surprised all of us, including Nico, who nodded gravely at Will. Will turned away from Nico and started healing Percy. Will's point of view. As soon as I turned away from Nico, I felt extremely guilty. I know I shouldn't have yelled at him, but if I lost another patient, no, I wouldn't. I refused to believe that. When I was at Percy's feet, I looked at him and rolled up the sleeves of my yellow hoodie. Then I began chanting songs of Apollo. The whole time I could feel my eyelids drooping, and I knew I would pass out soon, but I tried to stay awake as long as possible because I didn't want Nico to say, I told you after 5 minutes I couldn't take it any longer. My eyelids shut completely, and I passed out. Nico's point of view. I knew Will would pass out or get really hurt, so when he passed out, I walked over to him and laid him on the floor and rolled my eyes. What? Annabeth asked. Oh, just thinking how dumb he is for trying to heal Percy when he obviously isn't able to. Annabeth looked at me with a small smile. Kind of reminds you of someone, doesn't it? Well, it is different for Will. How so? Annabeth questioned. I thought for a minute. It was the. It was. Sorry. She didn't say anything after that, which I was grateful for. Well, Pat can be annoying. Anyway. Chapter 8 Scars. Piper's point of view. It was the last day of school. I had just got home from school. My dad was at work, and our home phone rang. I hesitated to answer it. Demigods could get tracked by monsters when they use phones. But when it rang again, I decided to answer it because it could be important. Hello, I asked. Hi, Pipes. It's Jason, Jason's voice said shakily. Jason, what's up? I asked worriedly. It's Percy, I sighed. What's wrong? He's in a coma. What happened? I will tell you later. Just get to the infirmary at Camp Half-Blood. Okay, I said, and he hung up. Will's point of view. When I woke up, I was in my cabin at Camp Half-Blood. I was laying on my bed. Nico was sitting on a chair by my bed with his arms folded and a death glare on his face. No pun intended. I gulped. That made my throat hurt. I told you not to heal Percy, he told me. You should have listened. Where is he? In the infirmary. Okay, talk to you later. No, you aren't going to the infirmary, Nico told me coldly. Getting in front of me, I shoved him out of the way, but he threw me onto the bed and sat on my lap. Nico, get off me, I yelled at him. No, get off me. No, he said again and gave me a mischievous grin before he started kissing me. I joined in and used this as a way to get to the infirmary. I threw Nico off of me and ran towards the infirmary, but of course my plan didn't work. As soon as I got to the infirmary, I was greeted by Kayla. Where do you think you're going? She asked me angrily. The infirmary, I told her. So move so I can get in. No, you are not stepping a foot in here, she said. Chiron's orders. I shoved her, but she didn't move. Well, go back to bed, she ordered. Don't tell me what to do. I am the counselor of the Apollo cabin. Well, go, a voice said behind me. I turned around and groaned. It was Nico. No, I said and ran towards the forest. Nico ran after me. I ran faster and tripped on a rock and screamed. Nico came up to me. What happened? My arm. I think it's broken. Nico's point of view. I was seriously mad at Will. How could he be so stupid? First, he passes out when I told him not to heal Percy. Then he uses me to get to the infirmary. Then he runs away from me and breaks his arm. It just didn't make much sense. Why was Will acting like this? Why was Will getting so frustrated at me when I told him to calm down? Only one thing made sense. He was hiding something. Something that would worry me. We made our way to the infirmary. I was holding Will in my arms, and he was crying and shaking really hard. Will, what's wrong? I asked, concerned. Nothing, he replied. No, tell me, Will. I can't. Why not? You wouldn't understand. No, you just don't want to tell me. Yeah, and I won't. Please, Will, I know you are hiding something you know I will get worried about, so just tell me. He looked at me scared, and I was still crying. I held him tighter and sat down. Fine, he said, sobbing. It took him a minute to calm down. Well, as you know, I got abused by my mom. When I went to camp, I wanted to be a healer because I wanted to save them from the pain I felt. But when Cronus rose to power, I couldn't save as many people. It still gets me and I get really mad at myself. Then when I saw you hurting yourself, I knew what you were doing because I do it too. And that's why I was holding on to Will so he might pop like Will. I told him it's going to be alright. Percy will survive. You really think so? Yeah, I said. Now, can I see your arms? He hesitated but nodded. I grabbed them and rolled his sleeves and gasped. His scars were bad, even worse than mine. Will, how long? Ever since the Battle of Manhattan, he told me. Alright, guys, so that is our chapters. I really hope you enjoyed. I want to hear your comments. This is obviously, I forgot to mention this, but I've made this on Wattpad. So if you're interested, go check it out. I don't think in my last video I had actually had it on. I didn't have it on my account yet, and I just wanted to read it, make it, and I noticed I got a lot of views from it, and I thought, why not make another one? So I did, and yeah, here we are, and I will be making more. I'm not ending this. I also have another fan fiction that that is Harry Potter, so I will read that one to you guys as well. There's not as many chapters, but all the same, I think you guys will really enjoy it. What else? Yeah, I just really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Also, tell me what you guys are excited for the PJO TV show, what you think about the casting decisions. I mean, I feel very weirded out by it. I mean, I know like they deserve I'm not biased against them. I don't hate them. It's not like that. It just seems weird. It's almost like he picked people that didn't look like them on purpose. But leave your thoughts in the comments. Please don't be rude. Like how would you feel if you were them? Just really enjoy just watching them. Think about their personalities, not the way they look. That doesn't really matter. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Also, like I said, if you just have any ideas, any like videos you want me to make, just comment them, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hold up, and